Friends, with the interesting and rather boosting introduction by Arun, I'm grateful to him that he has such sweet memories about our old association in St. Xavier's College, Ranchi. I used to call that college. I also want to share that moment, which was perhaps the best moment of my life, I would put it that way. When Father Nicholas Tete in 2007 or 2008, I don't remember the year, invited me to be the chief guest on the occasion of the annual day function of the college. So, I mean, I say this with lot of pride for the simple reason कि जहाँ से आप पढ़े हो, whatever be your alma mater, if you go there as a chief guest on an annual day, the feeling is something which I cannot circumscribe in words. Uh, I went there and the function started. And to tell you the truth, I couldn't speak the first sentence. I had by that time lost all my stage fright. And the entire front of the stage, below the stairs of the St. Xavier's College, uh, was full right up to the ground with all the young boys. And I choked. The correct expression would be that I choked out of emotion and nothing else. And then I asked for a glass of water to collect myself, and then I started. And I told them, I don't remember the number of years, but from 1969 I had entered. So 69 plus 31, 69 plus 31 is 2000. It was 2007. So maybe 38 years. So I just told them that 39 years back, a young lad who didn't have a mustache entered the gates of this great institution in shorts and t-shirt. And today he is in front of you as your chief guest. That is the journey which is for which the foundation was laid in this very institution. And this institution is not a college, is not not an educational place. I call it a temple. It's a not even temple. I call it. It's a factory which produces human beings, good human beings. It makes you a fantastic human being at the end of 4 years. And you learned, apart from your academics, so many other things in life. Somebody today somewhere told me that he is very punctual. I said, yes, that is a problem. I call it a problem now because the practical world is not about watch and the time alone. And I said jokingly that even if on my last moments, Mr. Jamraj sends his people late by 5 minutes, even while dying, I will get very tense. This is courtesy Father Walter Proust, who rather drilled the sense of time into the mind of all these Xaverians who studied at that time. And he had typical methods of doing it. If I get into that, there will be endless things. Just to build the perspective for this presentation, I need to, as the topic you would have seen from Arun's message, is the joy of public service through innovation. That is the essence of the whole thing that I'm going to present. Well, different people join public service for different objectives, with different dreams, with different, you know, different imaginations, I would say. I did not join the Indian Railways with any romantic, you know, objectives or romantic aim to say that I will change the life of the people, I'll change the life of the common man, I'll change. I joined it for a very interesting reason. When I was a kid, we were three brothers, and at that time, I think it must be the range of 6 to 10 years, the youngest one being 6 and I being 10 or 11. And our house was next to a small railway station. The name of the railway station now is Khudiram Bose Pusa. It's between Samastipur and Muzaffarpur. And our house was on the other side of the station, that is the in front of the station master, the parcel side where the cane loading used to take place. And on Sundays, now I know the terms. A train used to come with the steam engine and do some shunting to collect all the loose wagons left in the parcel siding. And there is a term which some of you may be familiar. It used to be, the term is, the term is fly shunting. Fly shunting, as the name implies, used to connect the wagon with the engine, take it forward outside the station limits, then it will go cross the starter signal, go past, and then it backs. And the points are made or the routes are set where the wagons have to go. And the driver suddenly accelerates, and accelerating in steam engine is a fantastic audio experience. And he used to push it with speed and then suddenly brake. So the wagons will, they are not hooked up fully. So they start, traveling on their own like a toy. So one wagon goes into line one wagon goes into line two, one wagon goes into line three, like that it used to happen. And that fly hunting was so exciting that all three of us brothers used to sit in the veranda of the house and watch it. But the tragedy was every day it had to happen at 10 o'clock, and our school timing was 10 o'clock. So I was very keen, and I used to explain this to my younger brothers. Kya ho raha hai, what is going on? And then we used to wait for Sundays. Every Sunday after breakfast, we will not do anything. We'll sit on the cot kept outside on the veranda, and we'll keep watching like three, ducks looking at the fly shunting going on. It was so exciting to me. The second childhood memory is when a through train passes, the driver leans out and picks up the token, which used to be a ring carrying a small token. And the whole sequence was very, very exciting. And later on, the three brothers, we used to simulate it on a cycle. Like I will be driving the cycle, the youngest brother will be sitting on the carrier, and the third brother will be standing by the side of the cycle path. And then I will cross, and then, we had an improvised ring, which was the token holder. And then, he will collect the token, he will throw these are small little games that we used to play. This is how my fascination for the Indian developed. I didn't know that, or not accept that I'll be joining the organization because of these fascinations. So deeply etched into my mind that they gradually went on developing. And that is the reason of my choice for picking up or choosing railway profession when it became available to me as an engineer, and I joined the railway service for the same reason. The other benefits I will mention when the other reasons why it was natural to me, I will explain subsequently in the presentation. The this is the childhood environment that influenced me into it. The second incident was when I was in Bachelor of Engineering final year at the institute at Bangalore, more popularly known as Tata Institute. The formal name used to be Indian Institute of Science. There, my professor, who thought I would turn into a very marvelous power system engineer, and he used to take power system class and also like me very much in that class for my performance. And then when I said, sir, I've been selected for a railway job, so he said, I know, okay, you want to become a Sahab, but railways, I will let you go. But any other government department you want to join, I will not let you go. So he also encouraged. So I realized that there must be the professional depth that may be satisfying there. So it may be good to join there. The third moment, which in terms of environment, the feeling when you land there, you have been aiming for it, then you landed there. The appointment letter said that you have to report to General Manager, Central Railway, Bombay VT, that majestic Central Railway building in Mumbai. I mean, even today when I enter, I get overwhelmed. That building has something in it. It is so huge and so princely, I would say, kingly, princely, whatever you want to say. Interestingly, when I reached the general manager's office, I had no clue that he is such a senior and exalted person that you cannot even have a meet him. And we were finally, I was rather directed to, I was the lone person joining on that day. And I was directed to the APO, Assistant Personnel Officer, where I went there, and then that usual formalities. Then he said, you have to take the oath before joining. So, like a student, I sitting on the chair, I started speaking out the oath, reading out the oath. He said, no, get up and then take the oath. I did that. The next moment before the joining ritual was over, he gave me a very small piece of card, which was foldable. It is called card pass in railways. I had no clue what that means. When I opened the card pass after coming down on the suburban platform, when you come out of the Bombay VT Central Railway headquarters, there is a door connected with the suburban platforms. Just before entering the suburban platform, till then I was traveling only in second class of Mumbai. And those days also it was quite crowded. Those of you who have seen those days, now of course it is beyond imagination, the crowd inside. When I opened the card read any station to any station over Indian Railways, first class. That particular moment is still very deeply etched in my mind, and I felt I was on the top of the world because I always loved traveling. Traveling gave me, even in my childhood, a lot of things to see around. So I said, "Arey, now I am the king here. I can go anywhere to anywhere in the entire country, and the card pass given to me is any station to any station over Indian Railways in first class." So these are a few moments which were at the foundation of my getting into this the job where I served 38 years, and before I retired from there. Then there were a lot of experiences through the service, which also gave opportunity. And one thing that I must mention is the large workforce and your job is to interact with the huge workforce, and you handle so many large number of human interfaces that it's a tremendous experience in itself. And slowly I got into the habit of, rather, it became my addiction to keep doing human experiments. And you had the sample available to you, and a very large sample for that matter. So I started working on the human experimentation. And then I used to tell my colleagues and batchmates and friends in the railways that I find as an engineer, I first thought machines are very interesting, but I find human beings are the most interesting machine to handle. And because it has a brain also, which controls the functions. So with this perspective, the innovation in job, I am not very keen to get into individuals in specific items which will come through the presentation. But they are numerous, and almost every tenure that I had, small tenure, long tenure, I would end up doing at least one or two innovations, which I will leave for the future. It didn't. It rarely had my label on it, but then those who worked with me, they remember, and they tell me even now that that particular thing is still going on, and it is very useful and successful. But so innovation was something which was the food to keep me propelling. That was my fuel throughout my service. And again, at the end of the retirement, I must mention the feeling that I had when I looked back, and the evening when I came home that evening, and I told my wife that it looks I joined only yesterday, and the time has not been enough for me. I have to do much more. Then she said, "आपका मन नहीं भरा लगता है." मैंने कहा मन तो कभी भरेगा ही नहीं, because I will lose that opportunity and I will not have the platform to do all those experiments now. But then it has to end somewhere, and it will take some other outlet in some other form. But it only indicates that I had that entire space of 37 years pass like a wink, and that was very satisfying to mention. So, gentlemen, we'll now get on to the core of the presentation. This was only to build the perspective and how the public service gives you joy. What is joy, and how the joy can be achieved in public service. Public service has many other dimensions which we'll see in the presentation. I should press enter. Yeah. What is the essence of public service in India? I have deliberately mentioned the word in India because I remember having met a public servant in Manchester in 1986 when I was there for 6 months. And that boy used to come in the hostel. I was also a boy, but he was younger to me. And I had done about 8 years of service, 7 years of service. He was hardly 2 to 3 years. And he used to, hate his service. And while we will be watching TV in the TV room, he will tell me a lot of stories about his service. And he used to say that public service is the worst service in England, because you serve the public in the true sense, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry walking on the road has the right to enter your office and ask you to explain your actions or decisions. That is that typical attribute, which is the true public service character, is unfortunately missing in our country. I have not seen that particular thing, except barring few occasions of during travel or while at railway establishment. There have been cases when some of the aware passengers had that strength to come and ask why this is being done, why this is not being done. And those were very pleasing moments, gentlemen. So the essence of public service in India, why a student in BSc or in graduation or in engineering wants to join public service, other than extraneous considerations which I have not listed here, which all of us are aware. The first one, of course, is the authority, because the sense of power and sense of ruling others is the feudal essence of our society in India. I mean, it can be linked back to the pre-Raj period or during the Raj period. Both had the feudal elements, one in its purest form or one in its original form, and one in the derivative form, in the form of a bureaucratic feudalism, which prevailed in British Raj also. Ability to influence many lives. These are the essential attributes. Now, you can influence the life through authority in both positive way and in the negative way, or in the sense of the control. It also provides you the social recognition, which is not there in every society. In Western society, it is not available in the same intensity as it is available in India. Then physical comfort, I don't need to mention. The physical comfort, all of us are witness to it every day. While going somewhere on the road, you are stopped, and some red colored light making poo poo noise gets past you. So these are the pleasures. While you are struggling through the traffic jam, the gentleman has the privilege to go. A lot of jokes about it. What is public service? Then security and stability. Stability. These are the two essential things which 40 years back, 45 years back, maybe 50 years back, when the private enterprise had not developed and grown widely and so deeply in the country, the job opportunities were far and few, and joining a private job meant you will have to change job, or you will have to be at the mercy of the Malik, who can throw you out without any uh, real you're providing you opportunity to contest. And the government job provided you the security and the stability. That is why it was very sought after. So public service, this particular attribute was very. I can quote some of the anecdotes while going on individual. When I passed my engineering and I was doing MTech in computer science in the same place, and I came home and I had 3 appointment letters in my hand in the final year. One was a job in Air Force, AEC, it used to be called Air Force Engineers Course or something like that, AEC 12 or 13. The second job was Tata Electric Company, which was a private enterprise, the best private enterprise available in the country at that time. And third job was Jyoti Limited, Baroda, which was an electrical engineering manufacturing company. It used to make motors and starters. So as per the prevailing culture of those days, I went to my father, and while he finished his afternoon siesta, I asked him, Dad, I have to decide which job to join. And fourth option was to join postgraduate. So when he heard, he said, "Oh, Air Force, bahut khatra hai, chhod do." So anyone who joined services those days, you were assumed that you are already 80% dead. You are counted, scored off the family list. So Fauj was no. The other one, he said, "Arey, wo dono to private hai." My father was in a central government service. He was in customs and central excise. So he said, "ये दोनों तो private है. चलो post graduate ही MTech कर लो." But subsequently, halfway through MTech, when I got selected for the UPSC engineering service, I again asked him. He said, "हाँ ये ठीक है, ये सरकार भारत सरकार का नौकरी है." So that is how the society reacted to the public service those days. Accountability or lack of it. Now this is a very loaded statement. I will leave it to to all of you to. Actually, it is supposed to be accountable, but it ends up in lack of accountability, and people get away with this. Wealth. I told you the extraneous consideration is that you can become wealthy if you are in a public service. You have the ability to generate ill-gotten wealth, which is not there in every other service. Attributes of public service. If you join public service, what are the things that make you feel good, and what do you get there as a public servant? The first thing that you get is functional freedom. Gentlemen, this is one thing that I have enjoyed every moment, every second throughout my service. Sometimes maybe at the displeasure of my seniors, sometimes discomfort of my juniors, sometimes unhappiness of my colleagues, but nobody had the privilege to block my functional freedom on what I wanted to. Protection from bad seniors. When you join in a service environment with large number of people, you are subject to influences by bad seniors and good seniors. I don't need to explain it more. Thankfully, railways, by that time, until recently, I will say 10, 15 years back, I am not the one who prefers to do the lashing of the younger generation. I hate that. But this is one thing which I hear from people, especially the stakeholders who interact, the contractors, the vendors, the manufacturers who supply items to the railways, people who go for certain activities to book a parcel, to book the cargo. They when they say that pehle to earlier, the Group A officers, class 1 officers were all by assumption supposed to be honest. These days, the person doesn't want to talk unless you give him money. Even for starting a dialogue, there is something required, some consideration required. So those days, few seniors used to be bad who would uh, try to coerce you to influence your financial decisions in favor of somebody. But if you are firm and if you show your firmness, demonstrate that amply in polite terms, there is no need to be aggressive about it. They would generally relent back. They would realize that this man, and maybe they might try to get rid of you uh, as his subordinate, and get a more pliable subordinate to achieve the purposes that he had in mind. So the job and the environment and the organization in public service, you must be hearing a lot of civil servants ending up in conflict with the ministers, and nothing happens to them. They are not their confidential reports are not spoiled, their appraisals are okay, and then finally, because appraisal system is so sturdy that it is very difficult to spoil the annual appraisal of the officers in public service. Then freedom to think and express, that is another good thing. You can always, you have the freedom to say, give your opinion, and it may not be accepted, it may not be followed. Recognition of performance, if you do well, people, your beneficiaries would certainly express it in different forms. then freedom to think and express, then privilege of dissent. This is one of the greatest things that I have enjoyed in the public service that I served, and I could express my dissent uh, freely with logic, and there would be many occasions when it would be given due cognizance. Freedom to experiment. This, gentleman, is the core of the presentation. The freedom to experiment in any terms. Experiment with humans, experiment with setup, experiment with operation, experiment with technical details, and so many other things associated with your day-to-day work, that your ability to innovate or ability to use small innovations at work will keep fueling your interest in the job, and you will not feel stale. So here is the essence of the term which I have used while deciding the title of the presentation. What is a joy? Joy is the mental state of pleasure. In fact, I should have used the word ecstasy, which will come subsequently, and or happiness in abundance. The picture that you see in this slide is of Mr. Archimedes, who, while taking bath, ran nude from the bathtub when he realized he had cracked the principle of buoyancy. That is, taught to us in physics as Archimedes' principle. Experience in all the human attributes, e.g., for example, the human attributes are basically in under 4 different classifications. You can have joy in physical attribute also. You can have joy in emotional aspects. You can have joy in intellectual attributes also. You can have joy in your spiritual activities also. I mean, I've seen people who get into frenzy when they are in spiritual joy. And, lesser human beings who are not spiritually that enlightened get amused. How is this man mentally able to reach that state of ecstasy and joy uh, in spiritual activities also? The axis of joy is a very interesting axis. It keeps on shifting as you advance in age, and it moves from physical to spiritual. As a baby, the physical joy is immense. You tickle the baby, a toddler, an infant, little more than the infant. You make some sound to the infant, and then you will find the child, the baby giggles. It enjoys. If you tickle the baby, giggles. So those are physical forms of joy. When it becomes a child, then it is physical plus emotional. You express certain emotional reactions to the child. You touch, make them feel happy. Then the sense of joy comes to the child. You come to adolescence. If you see in the child, the physical has been made bolder and emotional has been made smaller. This is only to depict the proportion. For a child to achieve the state of joy, the physical pleasure has to be more than the emotional quotient or portion out of it. For an adolescent, The physical is less, but emotional is more. Adult, physical, emotional, and intellectual. As midlife, you reach the midlife, emotional plus intellectual. Then old age, it is intellectual plus spiritual. This is how the axis of joy shifts. And therefore, in different age groups, in different age band, you have to focus on different attributes or different axis, different points of the axis to enjoy the sense of joy. What is the chemistry of joy? Here we will have to distinguish between happiness and joy. Happiness is something lesser in intensity. Joy is far more in intensity. It has to have an element of surprise. You tickle a child, it is a surprise to the child. You make some sound to the child, it is a surprise to the child. It is beyond the anticipation. You did not anticipate it, and it happens. So that gives you a sense of joy. Then physical sensitivity, it gives you physical sensitivity. So it excites your body physiology. Then sense of achievement, that also gives you joy. Sense of victory, that gives you joy. And then sense of divinity, that when you are in the spiritual point of the axis, through the divinity, you achieve the joy. Joy in service. I don't know who said this. I think it was Buddha who said this. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So while in public service, you have both the options. But what happens to you is more in terms of 90%, if you see, is how you react to it. Some people feel public service as a burden. They fall in the 10% category. You see what happens to you. You forget about your positive reactions. So in service, when I say service, I mean public service. It is actually applicable to any service. Service is what? In terms of transaction. And this is a transactional definition of service. Serving is providing abilities for a reciprocal consideration. What are the attributes of service? What are exchanged? Exchange of ability for a consideration. So exchange is an essential component of it. You should have an ability and there should be a reciprocal consideration. Considerations can be tangibles, that is remuneration, salary, or something beyond the salary, which is not, which cannot be part of the formal presentation. Non-tangibles are social respect and recognition. If you do good work, if you enjoy the work, and the recognition and the social response that you get propels you further. Status and happiness is obvious because the first one propels the supplements, creates the second one. Third is a very important thing. You derive a sense of self-worth, that I am contributing something, I'm achieving something. And then at the end, it is either satisfaction or joy, depending on what you do and what are the outcomes of what you do. The statistical distribution of people serving, if you draw, you will find this is a normal bell curve, and I don't think I need to explain the bell curve. All of you, most of you rather, would be familiar with it. So the people who are enjoying, the people who are in the joy bracket are the extreme right who are enjoying. Below them are the ones who are happy. Okay, it's fine. Then the second half of the median, they are satisfied. There is no need to talk about the left half. There are many in the left half as well. Because if you see any organization, the bell curve will be like, I mean, the whole sample, if you distribute and classify them, they will fall in this category. What are the killers of joy? Conflict. It could be internal conflict, it could be external conflict. Stress. What are the stress factors? Fear. I remember here that most of my juniors or colleagues used to ask me very frequently, "Hey Guru, you are always so mast. क्या गुर है? What is your technique of remaining happy and must all the time?" I said, very simple. If you can shed two fears in service, you will be the happiest. So they used to, I said, ask me what are those two fears? They used to ask, batao. The first fear I used to tell them is the fear of annual appraisal report. You did X or you did not do X because you anticipated that if I do X, my annual appraisal report that used to be called ACR those days, now it is called APAR. My ACR will be spoiled by my boss, or my boss will be happy and give me a good ACR. The second fear is fear of transfer. And I told them I have shed these two fears from day one in this service. And I am enjoying after that because it also helps me take my decisions, take my actions, because my actions do not smack or smell of any bias, any agenda, because it is not loaded. It is not, loaded like a coin with a fear of ACR. ठीक है, ACR जो लिखना है लिखेगा, मुझे ये ठीक लगता है, I will explain it with a rational. ट्रांसफर करना है ट्रांसफर कर दो, जहां कर दोगे चले जाएंगे. You are not going to reduce my salary, you are not going to reduce my rank, you are not going to reduce my comforts. I will get a house there also, I will have the same travel facilities, I will have the same manpower assistance to keep me going in life. So why should I worry? And I told them that please take note of it, that in this was in the middle of the career, that in last 15 years, I have had no transfers which was without my consent or without my asking. Number one. Number two, I also used to tell them that I never had a bad appraisal report. I have all outstanding appraisal reports, as my bosses, some of my bosses used to tell me, some of my bosses never told me. But even about them, I am sure later on I came to know. That was around 35th year of service when it was sent for some appointment to I.I.Sc in the cabinet secretariat. There, one guy who saw it and he told me that this is how your thing looks like. So if you carry those fears, your actions are going to be biased. Apprehension. मैं ये करूंगा तो people will raise a finger. If I am honest in my own heart, I am clear with the rationale that whatever I am doing, why should I be having apprehensions? Let somebody come and ask me, I will explain. Third is, different variant of the same thing. It is also a variant of fear, anxiety. पता नहीं मेरा CR कैसा होगा, पता नहीं मेरी पोस्टिंग कहाँ होगी, जहां होगी वहां जाएंगे. How does it matter? The third thing that is killer of joy is over-structuring. You might think this is something little unusual, but this is a problem I myself suffered, analyzed, addressed it, and I am out of it now. Over-structuring is the habit of a person who is very organized and what the person does, it also gives you comfort in working. Is the previous night you literally structure the whole day, and maybe the next day, and maybe the next day. So you have structured the next day. So you have already planned so many things. Activity A in the morning, activity B at 10 o'clock, and not very precise, but broadly. Now it is like building a brick wall, and one brick gets dislocated and you become tense. Your effort to bring back that brick and realign along the wall, it spoils the whole day and your joy is gone. So, gentlemen, if you analyze this, each one of you can analyze this, that whatever activities you plan for the next day, there are two crucial determinants in the overstructuring. The ideal model of a person who would be stress-free and would be in the state of joy most of the time, if his life is 20% structured and 80% unstructured. The activities that you have to do it alone without being dependent on the second person, third person, more than one person, where there is zero dependence, those are the activities you can structure, and you can structure perfectly. मुझे सुबह कब उठना है, मुझे कब ब्रश करना है, मुझे कब तैयार होना है, मुझे कब ब्रेकफास्ट करना है. These are the things. If I have to write something alone, when do I want to write it? When do I prepare the report? I have to make the report myself. I am not dependent on myself, so I can structure it. The remaining 80% should be left unstructured, where you are dependent on somebody. Okay, something could not be done because the help or the assistance or the support or the interaction that was supposed to come from somebody did not materialize. I was somewhere when I started on this exercise on 90-10. I was 90% structured and only 10% unstructured. And today I would happily say I am not 20-80, I am still 30-70. So that 10% element of stress does bug me many times. A sense of joy. You must have always active state of mind to be in the state of joy. Your mind should be agile like a child. You should be able to change the state of mind, the way you receive information, the way you handle information. Your inquisitivity must be very high. You must ask. I'll quote a very recent example. This year, do we remember when did we have our Makar Sankranti? Yes, sir. Anybody?
15th.
15th.
15th of January. Yeah.
Normally, when do we have it?
It's usually on 14th, but it will keep on
14th. Yeah.
So this year, when it was 15th, I started asking people, because I had never studied about it, I had never researched it, I had never asked anybody. So I was told, no, some vague answers, non-scientific answers. So nahi, wo aisa hota hai. Then somebody said every 4 years. First logical answer came from someone who told me that in leap year it happens on 15th. So then I opened the Google and checked. I said, no, somebody is saying, okay, let me check it. Then only I am satisfied. Then I saw when was the Makar Sankranti on 2020, 2016, 2012. And then I found all the leap years, it was on 15th. Then I said all Hindu festivals do not happen on the same date or nearly the same date like Makar Sankranti. How is that this particular Hindu festival, Indian festival, happens on the same calendar date? The calendar is a sun calendar. The reason why the Hindu festivals are not, or our Indian festivals are not on the same date of the calendar is because we follow a lunar calendar. We don't follow the sun calendar for that. So if it is a lunar calendar, how is that it happens on 14th? Then further checking up and research on internet told me how it is driven by the sun calendar, because this particular festival is when the sun turns northwards. I mean, it enters the path of what is that called? Orbit of Capricorn or मकर उसमें जाते हैं सूरज, the sun becomes Uttarayan. Then I remembered the story of Bhishma Pitama, who had the blessing of Ikshvaku, and he was lying in the war field, and he was asked, then he told that I will die when the sun goes Uttarayan. And the period of the Dakshinayan sun is considered to be not very holy. It is not. It is considered asum. So, since it is guided by sun, the sun calendar date is the reason for it to be on 15th, 14th every year. But because of the leap year, when one day account is to be adjusted, it gets adjusted on 15th. So inquisitiveness is that ability to ask questions. Some gentleman I remember one day asked me, I see a lot of people when I travel by train asking me a lot of questions. And I enjoy, trying to explain as much as I can. One gentleman asked me कि आज से 50 साल पहले एयर कंडीशनिंग ट्रेन में कैसे होता था, how was air conditioning achieved? And when I explained to him that the huge ice what should I say, slabs used to be pushed at intermediate stations in Frontier Mail in the bottom of the coach, and crushed ice used to be filled in the roof of the coach in the pockets, and there were fans above those ice slabs and the below the ice pockets on the roof, which used to blow cold air into the compartment. That is how the first AC used to work those days. So, gentlemen, inquisitiveness is something that will give you joy because it will help you connect things. Then ability to think out of box, that is lateral thinking. And the last one, when all the first three situations are continuously fed, then you end up in the situation of innovation. This is another thing which is very typical, free active memory. Free active memory is, how you store information in your head. Although it is said by doctors and psychologists that our brain has infinite memory capacity, but I do not subscribe to that theory. It is quite gigantic, I can assume, but then the cells gradually die as you age. And those of you who are from IT would appreciate this concept much better if I explain to you that in a computer system, the little bit of computer science that I studied in 1 year, first year, there are two things. One is ROM, one is RAM. ROM is the memory where, it is only read-only memory, and the storage there is in sequence. And you can access the data only in a particular sequence, so the data retrieval takes more time. And there is RAM. So RAM is random access memory, from where the data can be picked up randomly from any data location. And the random access memory is what actually decides the processing speed of the computer. And in our minds also, we have two boxes. I mean, two hardwares of storage, RAM and ROM. And if you fill up your RAM with more of ROM data, useless data, then your memory is misstructured. People there are people who take a lot of pride in remembering the car number of all their relatives, the telephone. Some time back when mobile had not come, they would remember the telephone numbers. And I found that I was able to function much better. This is purely a personal experience. Maybe you have a different experience, but I felt it very strongly. I just shed and blocked all the useless data which was not used for processing in my mind. So non-essential data through auxiliary memories storage I started. And to tell you interesting things, uh, many a times I have come out of railway station and just walked outside in the concourse and go and whatever vehicle which looks similar to the vehicle that I expected to come, I will enter that vehicle. And it has happened with me 3-4 times that somebody else was supposed to get into the vehicle. He will come and stand confused around the vehicle. Then I used to ask him, is this vehicle meant for you? Then he would say, yes, yes. Then I will get out and say, sorry, sorry. तो वो नंबर वंबर याद रहता नहीं है. So I just hold it in the brain. Now that mobile has come, I find it very useful as auxiliary memory, and I use it very extensively as an auxiliary memory. So if you keep your RAM free, your speed of processing, even in later part of age, goes on, does not diminish much. And interestingly, I must tell you something which I read somewhere, that 50 years back, the amount of data, no, sorry, the amount of data that a person is bombarded with today in one day was the amount of data he was bombarded with 50 years back in his entire lifetime, which indicates the speed of data flow and speed of information has increased manifold. And for the brain to cope up, or the thinking to cope up with the speed of data bombardment, you will have to be very, very particular in what data to block, what data to store in auxiliary, and that sequencing, that fly hunting mechanism has to be very good there. So keep your processing memory free as much as possible. That will retain your speed of processing. Emotional strength. Ability to face adverse results and outcome. Many of us find it very difficult because we anticipate the result, and then if the result is not as per our expectation, it is adverse, or it is outcome is different, we emotionally get disturbed. Flexibility. You have to be flexible when you face such situations. Then tolerances and perseverances. These are something which is very common. Patience also. You have to wait for a result to come. Impatience will take you nowhere. And to get an assessment as to how much should I wait is the real crux of it. Relative sensitivity. You have to have your own sensitivity probes or sensitivity, what should I say, sensors, which are sensitive, which should sense the sensitivity in the relative with the relative importance. Like you see two people approaching you in public service of different requirements. One is an old man, one is a young man. The young man perhaps can wait. The old man has to be dealt first. So you should give priority to that. Then appropriate outlet of anger, which is called anger control, or what control is a typical word I am forgetting. So anger control is very important. For me, in my active working days, poetry was the best form of outlet for my anger, whether it was in office situation, whether it was a family situation. I would vent it out in the shape of a poem. maybe 6 lines, 10 lines, 8 lines. The size used to vary, and it used to give me tremendous relief. In fact, when my friends ask me why I have stopped writing poetry, I tell them I have become old and I don't get angry. That is why the poetry is not coming out. Innovation for joy. Railway is an applied profession because various professions, 2, 3 professions like different engineering, different accounting, they are all applied to this end product, which is rail transport. So it has so many scopes. The innovation is creative application of your professional skills. Since it is an applied profession, you get lot of opportunities, you get lot of avenues to innovate, and you can have it, you just have to be looking for it. Differential between innovation and invention, I don't think it needs. Invention is something which is, for the benefit of the entire masses, entire world maybe. Innovation only makes your function, your particular activity, that a selected activity more efficient, more result oriented. Then commitment to objective. You have to have commitment to objective that if you are designing a station platform, your objective should be clear. What is my objective for making a platform? If your objective is clear, you will be able to innovate. What is, people are coming in, people are going out, people are parked on. These are the 3 common functions. People are waiting for a train. Now, how these different functions in US, there is in every design organization there is a system, there is an activity and team assigned to it, which is called QFD, quality function design. So anything that you design, you have to first write down what are the functions it is supposed to meet and how to meet each function. If you comply with that, if you meet that objective. For example, I don't know how many of you would have seen that. There used to be a reading lamp in trains, which I saw in my childhood, traveling first class with my parents. And it was made of copper plate, and it used to be installed in the corner of the wall and the partition wall. And it had a beautiful lens, which had the focal length adjustment, that is, you can push in and out through a screw system, and you could also swivel it in any direction. It was such a good piece of implement in the train, that you could focus that reading lamp on a page of a book at night. So the purpose of the reading lamp at night is that it should not disturb the other passengers, and you should be able to read if you want to read late night or night when the others are sleeping. These days, I will tell you so many, I am very critical of so many things in the railways. If you travel these days in any class, be it second AC, be it second class doesn't have the reading lamps, third AC doesn't have the reading lamps. It is in second AC and first AC. The reading lamp, interestingly, when you lift the flap, the light first falls on the other passengers and then it falls on you. So there is no way you can make it discharge the function it is meant. And because of the lack of sensitivity and lack of commitment to the objective, unfortunately, I never had occasion to work in this subsection of the railway coaches, and that is why I couldn't contribute to it. But subsequently, I can here, this is quite relevant, I must share that. The charging socket that you see, do you see the charging sockets in the trains for the mobile phone? Can you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is available in all classes now. I'll just share a very small story, real story of development. I mean, in introduction of earlier trains did not have, after the mobile phone came, the train coaches did not have the charging facility. So first few months or first year, I would say the mobile phone users used to charge at home. They used to carry battery bank and things like that. And the problem of discharge of mobile phone was common. Then some enterprising AC coach attendants, in their small cabin, wooden cabin outside the air-conditioned portion where he sleeps, he improvised a charging point by slicing the cable inside the coach, and he used to charge the mobile phones. You know, you have to approach the coach attendant, phone charge for getting your mobile phones charged. Yes, they might be charging 10 rupees, 20 rupees. Because nothing is done free in this country, or especially when it is not legitimately provided to you. I used to travel very frequently those days from Calcutta, from Delhi to, I was posted in the ministry. I used to go to Chittaranjan Locomotive Works. So I used to get down at Dhanbad or Asansol and then go by road. So first time I came, I saw a socket in first class, first air-conditioned coach. There used to be socket, and there used to be the rotary switch for the fan. Now you have the modern coaches. I'm talking of the older version of the coach. So I had a curiosity, why is this socket here and what is the purpose of the socket? Somebody I had read somewhere during training that this socket was used for shaving machine. So people used to shave with the electric shaving machine, which used to be on 32 volts, because the fan circuit was on 32 volts. So you use the shaving machine. Later on, when the coach power supply was upgraded to 110 volt AC, then also that socket continued. It continued more by legacy than by real use, because I have never seen anybody shaving with an electric shaver in a train. So I called the electrical, the air conditioning mechanic, and I said, "Wait, tumhare paas, do you have the multimeter?" Because multimeter is the first thing an electrical chap or electrical artisan will look for. So he said in Bangla, "Ache na." I said, "Fine." So how do you work? Then he said, "Test lamp ache." Test lamp is a holder, a bulb, and two pieces of bare wire with sheath up to some point to hold, and then you insert it into the socket and you see if the bulb glows. So I said, bring it. Then he brought the test lamp. I put the test lamp in, and then the 40 watt or 60 watt bulb grew like a small diya, timtimata hua, very, very feeble intensity light. So I realized it is not 230 volts. Later on, I checked up the drawing and I was told that it is 110 volt. So I said, if I have 110 volt, I was aware that mobile chargers are universal and they can take both 110 volts and 220 volts. So I said, why not make this as the mobile charging point? I only have to put a sticker below for mobile charging. And I went and I made out a small proposal that I want to do this development for the mobile, because it is a big problem. People don't get to charge them, they don't have charging facility. And I took it to the additional member, who was the person authorized to approve the new developments. So he told me, have you gone mad? I said, no, I haven't gone mad. So he said, why do you want it? I said, this is the problem. Yes, there is a problem. But do you know, if I say it is 110 volt and it is for mobile charger, people will start using it for ironing their suit. I said, when people are not using it for electric saver, how do I expect a first AC passenger to carry a ironing machine, electric iron in his baggage. It's a very awkward piece of luggage. He said, no. This is something which is very unsafe. I said, then I will put a circuit breaker, 5 ampere circuit breaker in the circuit, in the drawing, and if anybody uses beyond certain, draws certain power, it will trip. I'll put 1 ampere circuit breaker. Then the normal, way to answer these is that, the seniors would tell you, "Arey, मैं ऐसे ही थोड़े बोल रहा हूँ. I have grayed my hair." All those dialogues were exchanged. Finally, I said, no, but I will try. And if you cannot permit me to try, let me try in Rajdhani. Very reluctantly, he agreed. He said, okay, this development can be tried first in Rajdhani first AC, and then in other classes and other trains. I said, fine. The moment he signed it, I snatched the paper from under his hand, and the answer that I gave him before leaving his room was, second AC और सेकंड स्लीपर के लोग तो डंडा मार के करवा लेंगे एक बार. फर्स्ट एसी में एक बार लग गया ना, तो बाकी पैसेंजर डंडा मार के कराएंगे आप हम लोगों से. And truly that happened. It got started in first AC. It started working in first AC. People started using. And then what happened is, the other passengers who were traveling in Rajdhani, they knew that there is charging facility in first AC. So early morning from 7 onwards or 6 onwards, you will have people knocking at your door. Sir, thoda mobile phone charge kar loon. And then the passengers started complaining. Then it got provided in second AC, and then, it went on and on. Today, the story is that it is provided. It is not provided one. You are provided, 4 in first AC, 4 in 6 in second AC, and then 8 in the sleeper class. So now, starting from a very small initiative endeavor, the amount of pleasure that I get when I see a second class sleeper class passenger charging his mobile inside is enormous. It also gives me a lot of pride, a lot of sense of achievement, a lot of self-worth. So this is how the innovation is fueling your working in the organization, and it adds to your joy. Tips of attaining the state of joy: generate happy ambience around you so that your team also gets motivated. Allocate at least 20% of time for staring at the roof. This is a standard management technique, because unless you stare at the roof and things, not only roof, things. You are at the station, something is happening, just keep looking at it, you will get some idea out of it. Innovative in small little activities that you come across. It is not necessary that we can become Einstein. We have to become Einstein and Sir Isaac Newton. We can be innovators in a very, very small way. And the pleasures that you get is the reward that the innovation brings to you. Inhibitors of innovation: fear of failure. This is what your seniors will, those who have to approve the innovation, will try to inculcate in you, because they are doubtful about their ability to handle the failure, and it is their job. Actually speaking, it is their job. Then only a positive cascading built-up takes place for innovation. Lack of encouragement: nobody will encourage you. Comfort of status quo. This is a very interesting thing. I can have one full 2-hour session on comfort of status quo. It is a brilliant management concept which can be applied anywhere and everywhere, whether it is political management, bureaucratic management, commercial management. Status quo is the fantastic thing in life, because it minimizes your effort. Non-involvement in work. अगर involvement नहीं है, then of course you will have no scope to innovate. Perverse or misplaced interests. This is another common thing. You are not interested in the activity that you are managing or the service that you are managing. You are interested in something else. Lack of perseverance is a very common attribute. Burden of legacy. This is what have been done. We are doing it for ages, man. Why do you want to change it? Okay, you have been doing it for ages, but here is a way to improve it. Nobody else thought of it. I am thinking of it. Please try. Let's see. Insensitivity to service standards. We are not sensitive to our service standards because we do not have service standards in public service. We have not set any. There is no need for the government to set the standards. Either the public has to be aware enough, educated enough to set the standard for its demand for service, or we who are providing public service have to be sensitive enough or alert enough to set our own standards so that standards can be kept improving. Case studies, this was, at different stages, some of the things that I tried using mathematical models or statistical educational background about statistics, overtime control for running staff, drivers and guards. It gave wonderful results that in my first posting at Dhanbad, the overtime from 13,000 man hours per month, it came down to, in first month of application, it came down to 8,500 man hours, and ultimately it settled down to 2,500 man hours. That is because of the entire game was converting a normal distribution into an impulse distribution. I use that mathematical transformation for that. Motivation of loco pilots. Now, if the engine drivers who drive, especially the goods trains, it's the most boring job that you can think of. You don't have a fixed timings. You will be stuck at a signal for hours together. And the fact that the job in railways by the operators is repetitive, same thing in character, year, day after day, 365 days, 24/7, you are doing the same thing. So you lose interest, it becomes too stale for you. So in a repetitive job where a person is to repeat the same thing again and again, he has to find methods to make it innovative. And with this, the engine utilization figures in Dhanbad division for electric engines went up from about 400 to 450 kilometers per engine per day. It shot up to 700 kilometers per engine per day. For which, in first year of my service, I was was considered capable of being awarded by the general manager on a Railway Week celebration. Pin-based portal on arch bridges with overhang foundation. Now, this is a bit of civil engineering. This has nothing to do with, I am not a civil engineer, but this was purely a civil engineering application on arch bridges, because arch bridges are very narrow and there is not enough space to erect the pole for the electrification. This happened between Gomo and Bhojudi. Bhojudi is a station near Adra in West Bengal. Process innovation in management. There are numerous things that I can cite, but that would unnecessarily take your time. These are few examples I picked up. Innovation in vigilance investigation. Vigilance was the most hated job people used to mention. Nobody will like you. Because you are from vigilance, they know this man is here to cause me some harm. And I started simply a method that why do I have to punish somebody on his back? So the vigilance functionary would go investigate some irregularity, bring and give me the report. I used to call that manager or employee in that public sector. I was in a fertilizer public sector. Offer him, call him for a day in the head office, ask him to sit on the sofa in my room, give him the entire file, and I to him read the whole file. Whereas any other, the chief head of the functionary of vigilance would, dread thinking that I will make the person read the investigation report, because he would think that he would know and he would create his defense in advance. Why not? Firstly, I have to be sure that he has done the irregularity. Then I would have obviously read the report. I used to call him after till lunch. He had time to study. Then he will have lunch with me. He was treated perfectly with due respect. Then we will sit together and I will ask him to explain specific items of decision and conduct. And if he is able to give the answers satisfactorily, we will in fact enter into an exchange, question and cross question. And if he is able to satisfy me, I will drop the case then and there and give him a letter that this case is closed. If there was something, I would make him admit and say, कि हाँ साहब मेरे से ये गलती हुई. I made a wrong decision. Either out of interest, I would not force him to admit that he had a consideration behind that action. That can be construed from the discussion. And the result was there were other heads of vigilance in the same organization who walked out of the office on their return back to their parent cadre without even someone coming forward, the peons coming forward to pick up their, help him carry his briefcase and other belongings. I enjoyed 5 farewells, starting from the union right up to the general managers of the organization. Each one of them had a separate farewell. And they all said that we have only positive feelings about this activity in an organization. Otherwise, it is the most, despicable activity that somebody can imagine in any public organization. Innovation in, there is a mistyping, land acquisition, which I did in the fag end of my career, because I had to acquire 13,000 hectares of land over 6 states from Delhi to Mumbai. And there were a lot of innovations done there, which helped the land acquisition being done faster. Joy is never ending, gentlemen. Experience it as much as you can and keep experiencing it at any stage of life. That is, in fact, the elixir and the fuel of life. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patient listening. The house is now, stage is open to you for discussion. Should I stop the screen sharing so that we can see each other?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, as you said, the house is open. So, it's open. Please go ahead, lady and gentlemen.
Kya ho gaya? I'm not able to close this.
Jhaji, please go ahead.
Just 8 lines.
Ji, bataएं.
It was a joy listening to you this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
My pleasure.
And I never believed that this sort of talk can be so enjoyable, in spite of technical jargons at places. Really enjoyable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jazab. Thank you very much.
Somebody else, please come up. We have lots of technocrats. We have lots of, at least one innovator, Arvind. There may be many, we do not know about them. So just go ahead. Yes, Avdesh.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your very candid sharing and very, very valuable experience. So I have a few questions. One is
Yes.
about the recruitment and management of these people who work in very, very remote areas, like the people who collect those rings which are thrown at deep night time and in deep forests, and how are they recruited, how do they how do they receive their monthly emoluments, etc. I'm very intrigued to know about that.
Oh, great. I love this question. I'm really grateful. I can tell you with example. Are you familiar with Jharkhand geography?
हाँ सर, मैं रांची में ही रांची का हूँ, सर.
हाँ चलिए. Then रांची हटिया से बंडा मुंडा एक लाइन जाती है which passes only through jungles. After maybe first 20 kilometers, it passes through the forests of Saranda forest and other forests. And this is a story of 2007. This is again a first-hand experience. And this was a single line section. The need to collect, firstly, I'll just explain like a layman. Why do we need a token to be handed over and collected? That is the first thing to be done. Token is actually used in single line section, and it is a repetition of confirmation that between station A and B, the line is not occupied by any other train. So train 1 leaves station A with a token. Till this token reaches the token and put in the token instrument at station B, no other train can be given line clear either from A or from B. That is the interlock. So you need multiple interlock in a single line section because it has a bidirectional traffic. So to prevent a collision, this is an essential safety factor. And this token is put in a token holding ring. It is a token carrying ring which is made of steel wire, and then it is covered with jute and leather so that it doesn't hit you if you are in a fast train. This was when I joined Ranchi division in 2007. We used to go, and at night in a deep forest. Of course, now with electrification, it is all lighted. But in good old days, you have a danda, a big stick, at the end of which there is a jute which is fixed in a wooden, in a steel cup. And you pour kerosene over it and you light it. And with that lighted flame in the left hand, you stand by the side of the track. You stand by the side of the track bare. I mean, there is no other thing to support you. So left hand, you will have that stick with the flame. It is like a mashal. And in your right hand, you will have another danda which has a half ring in which that main ring is there. So you just hold it with both hands at two different places, separated by your the distance between the hands. The driver coming from a distance sees the flame, and he knows that before the flame there is a ring, and he sees that in the light of the flame. And then he leans out of the engine in the steam engine days and the diesel engine days, and he just flings his left arm and he picks up. But invariably, the bob of the token holder, when it rebounces back, it goes back and hits him on his back. These people are not specially sent for this purpose, but these people are out of the station staff. They are called porters. They are the lowest level of support available to the station master. Every station will have two porters to do these kind of miscellaneous jobs, and he supports them, and then they travel. Yes, there was a system long back of cash distribution in the midsection, and there was pay days fixed for every section, say between Hatia to Bano or Hatia to Mahabuang. These are the stations in between. the salary will be distributed on date on 10th of every month, and whatever is the day is a sacrosanct. And on that day, in a cash cash kept in a box, the cashier used to go on a push trolley, and 4 people will be pushing the trolley. There will be 2 RPF jawans with guns protecting the cash. There was a huge sequence of logistic activity to reach the money in cash to the employee at the remote station. That is how the pay distribution used to take place 10 years back, or maybe 10 years back. Then about 10 years back or 15 years back, the railways decided that we will have 100% disbursement through the bank. And the banks also had come up about 10 years back to have rural branches, and branches near the railway station, maybe 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers, within an approachable distance. So the disbursement was gradually transferred from, because this cash distribution, apart from being cumbersome in terms of logistic activity and unsafe, there have been firings where RPF Jawan and cashier have been killed in West Bengal. During my service, I remember those days also. And this also had a lot of, what should I say, lot of extraneous activities. Like the cashier was a very rich man, supposed to be the one of the very rich staff in the division, in the setup. Because if he pays 1,000 rupees salary, his cut will be 5 rupees for every 100 rupees, or 2 rupees for every. Otherwise, he will turn him down. You don't have change leke aao, and those kind of things. The RPF fellow will ask him 2 rupees, like that. So it was also a very source of an institutionalized corruption. And the cashiers who used to hold a lot of cash, and unpaid cash used to remain with them. Some of them also indulged in, what should I say, cash transaction in the market. People in business in need of heavy cash will take the loan, short-term loan of 2 days, 3 days, 4 days at a very heavy interest rate. So these nefarious activities also had to be snubbed. And this bank today, as on date, if I say, the 100% disbursement of salary and other wages is through banks. I hope I have answered your question, Deji.
जी सर. Sir, related question. Suppose इनकी absence record, इनकी छुट्टियां, इनकी CL, SL वगैरह जो होते हैं, वो कैसे मैनेज होता था? और अगर वो नहीं आए किसी दिन या बीमार पड़ गए, तो उनका कोई सब्स्टिट्यूशन था, नहीं था इतने रिमोट एरिया में?
The sanction of the post was always, designed, the sanction strength of staff was with 30% leave reserve and rest giver. Rest giver is for a rotational shift duty. For every 6 shift, you have 1 shift which is rest giver. So if you have 6 people, 1 person will be the rest giver, and 30% will be the leave reserve. That is when somebody is on leave. The issue is, if you are going on leave on an outstation type, on a wayside station, small station, you have to go on leave. Normally, the wayside station chaps would not go on leave without informing. And if they were going, there is a roster clerk sitting in the control room who keeps track of all the leave records and anybody who is sanctioned leave. And then he plans the replacement in advance, that he will draw the rest giver or he will draw the leave reserve person from the adjoining station and ask him to do a shift A or shift B. That was being done manually. It continues to be done practically manually now, and the attendance is unit-wise. Every work unit is headed by a supervisor, and the supervisor in charge of work unit is responsible for attendance. The attendance has also been gradually computerized and made IT-based. like you have a touch screen or you have fingerprint and those kind of things. But earlier, yes, I will agree with you. There were a large number of people who would be drawing salary and they would not be doing work and they would be nowhere on the rolls. वो पता ही नहीं चलेगा आपको, because there were lot of processes till the salary was dispersed and linking the attendance with the salary. I have another interesting incident on this where there was a referendum done for a recognition of a union. And when I got the number of votes count total for the division, I realized 30% shortfall was there in the number. I said, yeah, ye 30% gaye kahan? Where have they vanished? If they are there, they should have voted. And if, union activity is one activity where everybody will go and vote. This is not an optional activity. Then I started unit by unit analysis. And we had people who were in jail for 5 years and they were drawing their salary. So there are rules for that. If somebody absents for more than 3 years without any reason, there is a process for summary removal. If somebody is in jailed, convicted of a crime, then he is to be removed from service without any proceedings and things like that. Nowadays, it is computerized, and with IT systems, the interface disconnection has been taken care of.
Avdesh has been a conscientious and a very effective HR man. He headed Nomura. No wonder this question came from him, Avdesh. Arvind Jha.
यस, मैं सबसे पहले तो बहुत बहुत आपको धन्यवाद, और एक नया एंगल आपने दिखाया आज हम लोगों को रिगार्डिंग पब्लिक सर्विस. So it was not just a joy of public service, it was also a joy of serving public. So
obviously,
because railways,
that was
railways
hidden
का
into
ऐसा,
it.
बिल्कुल, जितना आपको आपके शंटिंग के इसने नहीं प्रभावित किया होगा, मुझे लगता है उससे ज्यादा प्रभावित हम आज भी हैं कि इतना बड़ा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इंडिया में चल रहा है और चल रहा है. I mean, hats off to the railway people, railwaymen. कमाल है बिल्कुल. I mean, I don't think any other organization can really match with this. And with the kind of areas that we have been moving into, the Naxalite areas, आपके forest areas,
It
we have
just
had
doesn't
first hand.
matter. The environment just doesn't matter because the process is so solidly organized.
Yeah. और हम लोगों का, and the sensitivity that also has gone up in the railway department like anything.
Yes,
मैं
yes,
just
yes.
एक दो एग्जांपल दूंगा आपको. एक असम का एलिफेंट्स हमेशा वहां पे आ जाते थे ट्रैक के ऊपर, and the sensitivity that
the place is
जी,
Binagudi. It is near Alipurdwar.
जी जी. और वही नहीं, अभी हाल में मैं तो छिपादौर में रहा हूँ. छिपादौर इज अ स्मॉल स्टेशन इन झारखंड, और उसके पहले हेहेगड़ा एक स्टेशन है, आपको मालूम होगा. तो बिटवीन हेहेगड़ा एंड झारखंड एंड छिपादौर, वहां पे आ गए थे ट्रैक के ऊपर एलिफेंट्स.
That was in 84.
या एंड वहां पे जो रेलवे के ड्राइवर्स ने जिस तरह से टैकल किया इश्यूज को, इट वाज वंडरफुल. आई मीन it was just like a forester thinking so sensitivity prone person कि भाई इतने अच्छे से हमको elephants को भी हमने deal करना चाहिए. So it was wonderful. I mean, and a lot many learning points emerged from you, but still I feel that it was perhaps just a tip of the iceberg that you already have with you because इतनी चीजें आप लोगों ने experience की होंगी जिसका कि time नहीं है उतना बात करने के लिए. But thanks a lot to you. बहुत अच्छा लगा सर.
Thank you very much, Arvindji. My
Anybody else?
present
Anybody
work
else?
is going on. I'll just take 1 minute with Arvindji. The present activity, rather that is also reached its peak, is more on rail transportation and wildlife plus forest conservation both. And interestingly, I will just tell you, there was recently in June 2023, a circular was issued by MOEF about forest conservation issues and wildlife conservation, wildlife issues on through the railway right of way.
Yeah.
That circular is a very controversial and disputed thing. There is a lot of debate going on that circular. But I happen to be the generator of that whole conflict, and it started from Chipadohar only. Chipadohar station is a very interesting station. There is a marble plaque there, where an
Yeah.
ex-CN B.N. Mukherjee died while that line was being constructed. His plaque is still there on the building. I was recently associated with Third Line project in that area, and more on the. I remember also in DFC in Balaram Ambaji Wildlife Sanctuary, we had to change the alignment and bring it inside the wildlife. And Dr. P.J. Dilip Kumar used to be DG Forest and Environment in Delhi those days. And when he raised the elephant issue, I said, what is the big problem, Dr. Dilip Kumar? I don't know why you are so concerned. What you want is the elephants must move across the track, and the track is at a very high embankment. I will get the tree planted like a tree tunnel. They will not realize they are passing under the track, and they don't have to cross it. Then, he immediately reacted. And he told Chairman Railway Board, if you have persons like him, I don't have to worry about wildlife. You will get the clearance. Please make an application. Then
Yeah, wonderful.
avian protection was another area on which I did lot of work, which was for Thol Bird Sanctuary and in near Ahmedabad. And they were worried about the big birds coming and getting hit by the traction wire. I had seen that arrangement in Oxford line in England, and the colored transmission line, colored plastic balls which they provide. That I had not seen in India. So that was in my mind. Then at that time, Mr. Srivastav was the chief wildlife warden in Gujarat. So I told him, I will provide you the latest technology available for avian protection on the traction wires. This is my commitment. Take it from me. We did provide it, and the trains are running on that route even today.
Yeah.
And something, because it doesn't come in public domain, people don't know about these things. And it was the wildlife and the railways interaction is it has a lot of misgivings from both sides, and it needs lot more research. Wildlife per se has very little literature. So my current interest is more, in fact, NF Railway has developed a optical fiber system, because it has a character that when the pressure, you apply pressure on optical fiber, its impedance changes. They have used that character to sense the movement of elephant across the track, and they sense it well in advance, and they generate signals. Chaliye, it was nice to talk to a forest and environment person. It is always a subject of interest.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody else? This.
Sir, one more question. This is regarding the Indian postal services system. Like railways, the postal system also is capable of reaching to the remotest of areas, and it has always intrigued me, even in places which are very far and very remote. Sometimes you just have to go through small ponds to reach those houses. The telegrams and the letters reach.
You have said it. This is my favorite quote when I talk of these people. Yes. What is the question?
So, question is, how does this interdepartmental and these companies, how do they work? Because I'm sure railways play a very, very vital role in delivering those. So I just want to understand how these come together and work together.
Railway is the logistic foundation on which these services are built. That is from where, and railway is also based on certain other basic foundation like telecommunication. If you study about how the telecommunication has developed in railways, that is also quite interesting. It used to be provided by Department of Post and Telegraph earlier. Now we are totally set free from them. We have the own system. As the the communication world has grown, the needs have also changed, and the technology has such provided lot of facility. To tell you something, Avdeshji, which you will, since you appreciate the postal service and railway service penetration into daily life of the common man in India, I have a famous proverb which is my own creation and my friends. It's very popular in my friend circle. I say that my proverb is there are only two class of man in this country. They only deserve to be man. First is the postman, second is the gangman. Gangman is from railway, who is the lowest of the hierarchy and bottommost functionary in the field. Every other public servant is a woman in this country. Woman not in the derogatory sense, but in the sense of being hardy and being, they only can do the household job. The real man is postman and gangman. The reason is a gangman is my doctor, assistance, is my compounder, is my pharmacist, is my dead body carrier, is my waterman, is my food reaching man. He does everything when there is a train accident, a passenger train accident. A gangman can do anything on the tracks between the two stations. At station, you have manpower, but gangman exists only in the midsection between the two stations. I'll tell you a very interesting story about what is the caliber of the gangman. Gangman is my land revenue officer. No land record will tell you where does your ROW end. Ask a gangman of a section, अरे भाई रेलवे की जमीन कहाँ तक है? Oh, he will tell you वो कटहल के पेड़ तक रेलवे की जमीन है. आप रिसर्च करते करते थक जाओगे और एंड में आपको वही कटहल का पेड़ बाउंड्री मिलेगा आपके लैंड रिकॉर्ड में भी. That is the level of knowledge that these people, level of local knowledge. There was a gentleman here in Ranchi in 2008. There is a doctor. He is a doctor, Dr. Anand Sinha. He was running a program called Smile Train, and he interacted with me. One day in the morning, he rings me and he tells me, "Sir, मुझे थोड़ा help चाहिए, but I am feeling very shy to ask you this help because this is a very stupid kind of help." I said, "Tell me." Then he tells me कि मेरा mobile phone, those days the first class compartment used to have the Western toilets, which was only a big hole. You had the seat and the big hole. So he said, I bent and my mobile phone went through that hole on the tracks. And I have most of the addresses and phone numbers in the mobile phone only. I have no diary. तो अब तो मैं तो बिल्कुल मर जाऊंगा. I am finished. I cannot recreate that. तो मोबाइल फोन कैसे मिल सकता है क्या? Let me try. He was coming. He had come by travel by Ranchi Patna Express. I said, "Can you tell me an approximate closest band of the time that you think you dropped your phone?" He gave me a time band. So depending on the train control chart, I called for the control chart in my room and I checked up. Then I found the geographical points, coordinates. And then I told the sectional supervisor that you send your gang, which is beat gang of that particular area, and ask him to search if there is a mobile phone के कुछ remnants मिल जाए तो बताना. So within 1 hour I get a phone call from the station, nearest station, कि वहां साहब वो 2 मोबाइल फोन का ऊपर वाला और पीछे वाला मिला है. तो मैंने कहा फिर extend your search 200 meters plus and 200 meters minus from that point. And within 1 hour, they said, we have found every piece of the mobile phone. It was, tied up in a handkerchief and sent to me by the evening, which I sent across to Dr. Anand Sinha, which he took to a mobile repair shop, who assembled it back, and his mobile phone started functioning. And he said, "This is a miracle as far as I, as a passenger, I can say." So these are the kind of small little stories that keep happening.
बट एक रिक्वेस्ट हमारी है,
सर बोलें
उसमें आप फॉरेस्ट मैन को भी जोड़िए।
किसमें? नहीं, फॉरेस्ट मैन में पोस्टमैन वाली पेनिट्रेशन और विड्थ नहीं होती है।
अरे
फॉरेस्ट मैन,
आप फॉरेस्ट गार्ड सुना जाए, फॉरेस्ट गार्ड जो होता है हमारा, जो गार्ड बोलते हैं उसको, बट रिमोटेस्ट एरिया में अगर कोई सरकार का नुमाइंदा है तो फॉरेस्ट गार्ड है बेचारा, एंड ही इज ए पार्ट ऑफ द विलेज, और हर चीज में वो उसके साथ, एंड ही आल्सो इज आई मीन स्टोर हाउस ऑफ नॉलेज अबाउट फॉरेस्ट, एवरी ट्री, एवरी एनिमल, वाइल्ड लाइफ किधर गया, नक्सल्स किधर से किधर गए, everything he is aware of. So
he will be privy to all the information, geographical information, social information.
Very tough life, very tough life.
Dr.
उनके लिए तो
Sarita,
दौड़ का टेस्ट होता है सर. Even we had to pass a test of running.
Yeah.
24 kilometers in 4 hours.
जी.
Lady officers हमारे जो हैं, they run for 16 kilometers in 4 hours. They have to. It's a part of our नौकरी नहीं लगती.
Dr. Sarita.
So thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Sarita, for your those sparks that you have been sending. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you again. But just few compliments and few questions. So the first compliment is it was wonderful to hear all these, but a couple of things. What I heard, it's not just for the public service, it's actually the joy at work, and this can be applied even in private sector, which I'm going to give that to my daughter, which she's in private sector. And I thought some of the idea was great, how to be joyous even in corporate world and in busy and this stressful life. That's number one. The second thing you said about calling someone who did any kind of mistake or intentional or unintentional and give him the file. And this is the practice even in US is very prevalent. If someone makes a mistake, the goal is not to punish, rather learn from the mistake. And that's what we call the quality control. So, and the whole punishment thing is very like people are averse to call it as a punishment. Most is we are not calling you to punish you, rather we have to learn why this happened. So the whole process of finding the mistake and how we learn. And of course, if it's a grave mistake, you will be punished. But at least you will know that it was investigated properly and you were involved in that process. So that's two compliment and comment. The third one is, I heard that Indian Railway is the largest in the world. Is that true? I mean, based on what we have. So which like a railway line or area which is very kind of beautiful to go through or to pass through, if you are aware of? And the second question is, I have not traveled too much by railway in India in last 30 years, probably maybe once or twice, but I have gone through railways in US, some of the railway line. One thing I found very interesting here, that it is not just even it's a long journey, they have places in the car, in a like cart style, like you sit, and they have a dining area and you can get entertained. So the journey doesn't become very boring if you have to sit in a train for 9, 10, 20, or 11 hours. What Indian Railway can do to make journey not boring, but rather enjoyable, other than just looking at the view? That's just my
very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
On the first two compliments, I must respond to you. Yes, I also subscribe, and I also this presentation was oriented because the original presentation was given for the middle level managers who had done 15-20 years of service. That is the time when you start feeling stale in your job, whatever be the job. It was given for that group in Railway Staff College, Baroda, just to kind of excite them to be getting back into the innovation more rather than feel stale. This principle of joy, serving for joy, actually the original presentation is serving for joy. Public service has been related to public service for a specific perspective, which I wanted to make it, easily absorbable. Joy of service is true in any mode. It is private, commercial. It will be true for any other thing. Secondly, you mentioned about the punishment part. The social changes that have come in last 10-15 years, gone are the days of reform through punishment. The punishment mode of reform is no longer the relevant approach of reform, and this has been accepted world over, globally, and across the organizations. And anyone who adopts this, even at our family level, my mother is no more, but I used to tell this in front of her many a times jokingly, that do you remember how harsh you used to beat me? And I used to cite the moments of those beating spree when she will lock the room from inside so that my grandmother doesn't interfere. She will beat me thoroughly because I was a very, very notorious and naughty child. And after beating, she would get tired, I can tell you that. And she would, kind of heave a sigh of relief. Aaj to dil bhar ke pitai kiya hai iska. Now, that was one time. But nowadays, I don't see any mother beating the child. I had an interesting session in one of the Zonal Railway headquarters, and I asked this question to people more than 50 years of age. Do you remember beating of your parents or your teacher? All of them said yes. And I said, after less than 40 years, do you remember? All of them said, no, we have never been beaten. Then I asked them, do you beat your child? There was a lady who was in the younger age band, and he said, yes, sir, when I go home, I beat my child left and right. I beat him blue and black. I said, then you are frustrated at your job. You are having a bad time with your boss. You are only reflecting your frustration on your child. Please stop doing this. Learn your own ways of venting your anger and frustration. Don't vent it on the child, because the child will become a rebel and you will find it difficult to handle him. So that reform through punishment is a forgotten philosophy now, and people will adopt it eventually. The Western world has adopted it before us. That is the advantage. On the making the journey more picturesque, there are, I also love traveling on picturesque sections. I have done almost all of them. And I can certainly tell you, whenever you are coming to India to, incorporate, you will enjoy traveling on those sections. But about the entertainment, the journeys here are, of very long duration, up to 40 hours, 42 hours. And the facility that you mentioned, yes, you have the facility to book a tourist car in which you will have a drawing room, you will have 2 bedrooms, you will have an inspection window, you will have a cook's area, you will have the staff area, you will have a TV, and you can travel in that tourist car. But it is damn expensive. Rather unaffordable. They charge you on kilometer basis. And there are shunting charges, parking charges, so many. It's more like a airline service. but that facility is there.
So we should let this come to an end. Already we have lots of time.
Just one,
Yeah, I saw
Arun
the.
bhai, Arun,
We are-
just one suggestion to madam.
हाँ.
आपको अगर इधर इंडिया में आना है तो यू कैन ट्रैवल बाय कोकण रेलवे ड्यूरिंग डे टाइम, मुंबई टू गोवा.
Okay.
It's one of the best, one of the best areas that you'll
most picturesque
enjoy.
journeys.
That's right.
Now, of course, the Srinagar route is also, the trial runs are going on. The other section is Itarsi, Nagpur, that is also beautiful. Mangalore is the another is the next section, and North Frontier Railway. If you go further east of New Jalpaiguri, it's all picturesque. It's all picturesque.
Okay,
Actually,
thank you.
two people whom I have loved, respected, Arvind and Anil ji, they are universities by themselves. They are universities by themselves, and so much is to learn from them. And we both had the glimpse, one by Arvind and one, of course, Datta ji. तो काफी कुछ तो इसके बारे में कहा, मेरे मन में भी बात थी सर, आज समय का अभाव है. एक बस 2 लाइन मैं अपनी ओर से कहूंगा, दोनों आपसे ही ली गई हैं. अथॉरिटी ये टीएसआर सुब्रमण्यम, जिनके अंदर मैंने कुछ काम किया था ऑन द न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, उन्होंने कहा था कि आप जो इतनी बातें बता रहे हैं और लोग आपको अपोज कर रहे हैं, अथॉरिटी में क्या होता है, आप इस तरफ टेबल के चले आइए तो आप लोगों को ये नहीं बताएंगे ये क्यों होना चाहिए, बताएंगे ये कैसे होना चाहिए. That is what an authority does and what you have achieved in many times. दूसरी बात तो ये कि आपका जो रोमांस शुरू हुआ था बचपन में चेन्स सर्कल्स एक्सचेंज करने से, उसी से करीब करीब खत्म भी हुआ है, कर्टसी ऑडेशियस क्वेश्चन. तो सर आप जो जॉय की बात कर रहे हैं, एक और शुरू वाली आपकी बात ही, दैट जॉय इज और इनोवेशन इज फाइंडिंग ब्लिस in mundane things. So your joy started from supposedly a very mundane experience, but it has been celestial, sir. So thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. We shall continue with this. अभी मैं अपनी रिकॉर्डिंग स्टॉप करता हूं, लेकिन मेरी फेवरेट लाइन है, अभी हम लोग इसको अबैंडन कर रहे हैं. दत्ता जी का सेशन एंड नहीं हुआ है.
Thank you. You are pausing it. Namaste.